Gormenghast. Chapter 29. Nanny Slag's funeral was so simple as to appear almost offhand, but this seemingly casual dispatch of the old lady's relics bore no relation to the inherent pathos of the occasion. The gathering at the graveside was out of all proportion to the number of friends on whom in her lifetime she would ever have dared to count, for she had become, in her old age, a kind of legend. No one had troubled to see her. She had been deserted in her declining years, but it had been tacitly assumed that she would live forever, that she would no more pass out of the castle's life than that the tower of flints would pass from Gormenghast to leave a gap in the skyline, a gap never again to be filled. And so, at her funeral, the majority of the mourners were gathered there to pay their respects to the memory not so much of Mrs. Slag as to the legend which the tiny creature had, all unwittingly, allowed to grow about her. It had been impossible for the two bearers to carry the small coffin across their shoulders, for this necessitated so close a formation one behind the other that they could not walk without tripping one another up. The little box was eventually carried in one hand by the leading mute, while his colleagues, a finger placed on the lid to prevent it from swaying, walked to one side and a little to the rear. The bearer, as he strode along, might have been carrying a bird-cage as he paced his way to the retainer's graveyard. From time to time the man would turn his eyes with a childish, puzzled expression to the box he carried, as though to reassure himself that he was doing what was expected of him. He could not help feeling that something was missing. The mourners, led by Barquentine, came behind, followed by the Countess, at some distance. She made no effort to keep pace with the rapid, jerking progress of the cripple. She moved ponderously, her eyes on the ground. Fuchsia and Titus followed, Titus having been released from the fort for the funeral. With the nightmare memory of his recent adventure filling his mind, he moved in a trance, waking from time to wonder at this new manifestation of life's incalculable strangeness. The little box ahead of him, the sunshine playing over the head of Gormenghast Mountain, where it rose with unbelievable solidity, ahead like a challenge on the skyline. It crowned a region that had become a part of his imaginative being, a region where an exile moved like a stick insect through a wilderness of trees, and where, phantom or human, he knew not which, something else was, at this moment, floating again, as he had seen it float before, like a leaf in the shape of a girl. A girl! Suddenly he broke from his trance at Fuchsia's side. The word and the idea had fused into something fire-like. Suddenly the slight and floating enigma of the glade had taken on a sex, had become particularized, had woken in him a sensation of excitement that was new to him. Wide awake, all at once, he was at the same time plunged even deeper into a cloud-land of symbols to which he had no key. And she was there ahead of him. He could see, far away, the very forest roof that rustled above her. The figures that moved ahead of him, Barquentine, his mother, and the men with the little box, were less real than the startling confusion of his heart. He had come to a halt in a valley filled with mounds. Fuchsia was holding his hand. The crowd was all about him. A figure in a hood was scattering red dust into a little trench. A voice was intoning. The words meant nothing to him. He was adrift. That same evening, Titus lay wide-eyed in the darkness and stared with unseeing eyes at the enormous shadow of two boys as they fought a mock battle of grotesque dimensions upon an oblong of light cast upon the dormitory wall. And while he gazed abstractedly at the cut and thrust of the shadow monsters, his sister Fuchsia was crossing to the doctor's house. "Can I talk to you, Doctor?" she asked as he opened the door to her. "I know it isn't long since you had to bear with me, and—" But Prune-Squallow, putting his finger to his lips, silenced her and then drew her back into a shadow of the hall, for Irma was opening the door of the sitting-room. "Alfred!" came the cry. "What is it, Alfred? I said, what is it?" "The merest nothing, my love," trilled the doctor. "I must get that hank of ivy torn up by its very roots in the morning." "What ivy? I said, what ivy?" she answered. "I sometimes wish that you could call a spade a spade. I really do." "Have we one, sweet Nicotine?" "Have we what?" "A spade for the ivy, my love. The ivy that will keep tapping at our front door. By all that's symbolic, it will go on doing it." "Is that what it was?" Irma relaxed. "I don't remember any ivy," she added. "But what are you cowering in that corner for? It's not like you, Alfred, to lurk about in the corner like that. Really, if I didn't know it was you, well, really, I'd be quite— But you're not, are you, my sweet nerve-ending? Of course you're not. So, upstairs with you. By all that moves in rapid circles, I've had a seismic sister these last few days, haven't I? Oh, Alfred, it will be worth it, won't it? There's so much to think of, and I'm so excited. And so soon, now. Our party! Our party! And that's why you must go to bed and fill yourself right up with sleep. That is what my sister needs, isn't it? Of course it is. Sleep. Oh, the very treacle of it, Irma. So run away, my dear. Away with you. Away with you. Away! He fluttered his hand like a silk handkerchief. Good night, Alfred. Good night. Oh, thicker than water. Irma disappeared into the upper darkness. "And now," said the doctor, placing his immaculate hands on his brittle and elegant knees, and rising at the same time on his toes, so that Fuchsia had the strongest impression that he was about to fall forwards on his speculative and smiling face. "And now, Fuchsia, I think we've had enough of the hall, don't you?" And he led the girl into his study. "Now, if you will draw the blinds, and if I pull up that green armchair, we will be comfortable, affable, incredible, and almost insufferable in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, won't we?" he said. "By all that's unanswerable, we will." Fuchsia, pulling at the curtain, felt something give way, and a loose sail of velvet hung across the glass. "Oh, Dr. Prune, I'm sorry. I'm sorry," she said, almost in tears. "Sorry? Sorry?" cried the doctor. "How dare you pity me? How dare you humiliate me? You know very well that I can do that sort of thing better than you. I am an old man, I admit it. Nearly 50 summers have seeped through me, but there's life in me yet. But you don't think so. No, by all that's cruel, you don't. But I'll show you. Catch me." And the doctor, striding like a heron to a further window, ripped the long curtain from its runner, and whirling it round himself, stood swathed before her like a long green chrysalis, with the pale, sharp, eager features of his bright face emerging at the top like something from another life. "There!" he said. A year ago, Fuchsia would have laughed until her sides were sore. Even at the moment it was wonderfully funny. But she couldn't laugh. She knew that he loved doing such a thing. She knew he loved to put her at ease, and she had been put at her ease, for she no longer felt embarrassed, but she also knew that she should be laughing, and she couldn't feel the humour. She could only know it. For within the last year she had developed, not naturally, but on a zigzag course. The emotions and the tags of half-knowledge which came to her fought and jostled, upsetting one another, so that what was natural to her appeared unnatural, and she lived from minute to minute grappling with each like a lost explorer in a dream who is now in the Arctic, now on the equator, now upon rapids, and now alone on endless tracts of sand. "Oh, Doctor," she said, "thank you. That is very, very kind and funny." She had turned her head away, But now she looked up and found he had already disengaged himself of the curtain and was pushing a chair towards her.
"What is worrying you, Fuchsia?" he said.
They were both sitting down. The dark night stared in at them through the curtainless windows. She leant forwards, and as she did so she suddenly looked older. It was as though she had taken a grip of her mind, to have in a way grown up to the span of her 19 years.
"Several important things, Dr. Prune," she said. "I want to ask you about them, if I may."
Prune-Squallow looked up sharply. This was a new Fuchsia. Her tone had been perfectly level, perfectly adult.
"Of course you may, Fuchsia. What are they?"
"The first thing is, what happened to my father, Dr. Prune?" The doctor leant back in his chair. As she stared at him, he put his hand to his forehead.
"Fuchsia," he said, "whatever you ask, I will try to answer. I won't evade your questions, and you must believe me. What happened to your father, I do not know. I only know that he was very ill, and you remember that as well as I do, just as you remember his disappearance. If anyone alive knows what happened to him, I do not know who that man might be, unless it is either Flay or Swelter, who also disappeared at the same time."
"Mr. Flay is alive, Dr. Prune."
"No," said the doctor. "Why do you say that?"
"Titus has seen him, Doctor. More than once."
"Titus?"
"Yes, Doctor, in the woods. But it's a secret. You won't—"
"Is he well? Is he able to keep well? What did Titus say about him?"
"He lives in a cave and hunts for his food. He asked after me. He is very loyal."
"Poor old Flay," said the doctor. "Poor old faithful Flay. But you mustn't see him, Fuchsia. It would do nothing but harm. I cannot have you getting into trouble."
"But my father!" cried Fuchsia. "You said he might know about my father. He may be alive, Dr. Prune. He may be alive."
No, I don't believe he is," said the doctor. "I don't believe so, Fuchsia."
"But Doctor, I must see Flay. He loved me. I want to take him something."
"No, Fuchsia, you mustn't go. Perhaps you will see him again, but you will become distressed. More distressed than you are now if you start escaping from the castle, and Titus also. This is all very wrong. He is not old enough to be so wild and secret. God bless me. What else does he say?"
"This is all in secret, Doctor."
Yes, Fuchsia, of course it is."
"He has seen something."
"Seen something? What sort of thing?"
"A flying thing." The doctor froze into a carving of ice. "A flying thing," repeated Fuchsia. "I don't know what he means." She leant back in her chair and clasped her hands. "Before Nanny Slag died," she said, her voice falling to a whisper, "she talked to me. It was only a few days before she died, and she didn't seem as nervy as usual because she talked like she used to talk when she wasn't worried. She told me about when Titus was born, and when Kedda came to nurse him, which I remember myself, and how when Kedda went away again to the outer dwellings, one of the carvers made love to her, and she had a baby, and how the baby wasn't really like other babies, because of Kedda not being married, I mean, but different apart from that, and how there were various rumours about it. The outer dwellers wouldn't have it, she said, because it wasn't legitimate. And when Kedda killed herself, the baby was brought up differently, as though it was her fault. And when she was a child, she lived in a way that made them all hate her and never talked to the other children, but frightened them sometimes and ran across the roofs and down the mud chimneys and began to spend all her time in the woods. And how the mud dwellers hated her and were frightened of her because she was so rapid and kept disappearing and bared her teeth. And Nanny Slag told me that she left them together, and they didn't know where she had gone for a long time. Only sometimes they heard her laughing at them at night, and they called her the Thing. And Nanny Slag told me all this, and said she is still alive, and how she is Titus's foster sister. And when Titus told her of the flying thing in the air, I wondered, Dr. Prune, whether—" Fuchsia lifted her eyes and found that the doctor had risen from his chair and was staring through the window into the darkness where a shooting star was trailing down the sky. "If Titus knew I had told you," she said in a loud voice, rising to her feet, "I would never be forgiven. But I am frightened for him. I don't want anything to happen to him. He is always staring at nothing and doesn't hear half I say. And I love him, Dr. Prune. That's what I wanted to tell you."
"Fuchsia," said the doctor, "it's very late. I will think about all you have told me. A little at a time, you know. If you tell me everything at once, I'll lose my place, won't I? But a little at a time. I know there are other things you want to tell me, about this and that, and very important things too. But you must wait a day or two, and I will try and help you. Don't be frightened. I will do all I can. What with Flay and Titus and the thing, I must do some thinking. So, run along to bed, and come back and see me very soon again. Why, bless my wits, if it isn't hours after your bedtime. Away with you."
"Good night, Doctor."
"Good night, my dear child."